Okay. All right,
Are we
can
live?
go live.
Are we live?
We are live. It's
Ooh,
official.
this is exciting. This is my first ever LinkedIn Live. So I am really excited. I was a little, I will admit, I was a little nervous today about this, but I'm also really excited because it's a topic that is near and dear to my heart and one that we practice quite frequently at Proofpoint. And, you know, for whatever reason, Mike, we just haven't shared a ton about this. So I'm excited that we're going to be talking about this very openly and publicly. And I hope that we'll have some folks join us on the call later for more of an interactive session.
Well, and if anybody needs any incentives, we're going to be giving some stuff away, right?
Yes.
So we got some gifting giveaways planned. All right. Let's see. Do we have anybody live? Try to see here. Nope. Looks like it's just you and I for now. But we can start. Maybe we'll give people a few minutes. How about that? I know there are a few people that are planning on joining.
All right. Well, shall we get started here or?
We'll give it like 30 seconds or so, and then we can get started.
All right.
This will be our first in a while, just duo. Actually, we've never really done just a duo conversation that's been recorded. We've always interviewed people as a
That's
duo.
right. We've never done that. Yeah.
This is a first for that too.
Can you hear me okay, Mike?
I can.
Okay.
You are just fine.
My AirPods are not connecting. I'm going to try to connect them.
That's
here.
all right. You've got your echo cancellation on. It sounds fine. I don't hear an echo.
Okay. Well, before we dive in, for anyone that may be listening, we are talking about gift giving, specifically in the B2B space. And I want to preface the conversation and say that in this talk, we are not going to be, let's say, advising you on a platform or talking about certain vendors. That's not the point of this conversation here. There are plenty of large platforms out there that do gifting, that offer gifting services. There are also a lot of more niche and smaller agencies or smaller organizations that can help you with gifting needs. We are not really going to talk about that. We have thoughts on those things and we can share them if they come up. But really, we want to talk more about just the strategy behind gifting, why you should do it, how or why not you should measure it, how to start something like this, who owns it, how do you start it, what kind of gifts do you give, when is the appropriate time to give gifts, and then also thinking about budget and, let's say, gifting levels. There are smaller, gifts that come at a smaller price point, and there may be gifts that are at a much more higher elevated price point. And when is it appropriate to give those types of gifts, and to whom? Establishing your strategy of basically the who, what, where, why, and how on gifting is what we're going to talk about. So, Mike, do you think we should get started here?
Yeah, let's get started. I think the best place to start, we like to talk about mindsets. So let's chat about our overall philosophy about gifting. Gaby, you and I have talked about this a bunch.
Yeah.
We talk about it with clients. We talk about it internally a lot. So why don't you share with everybody out there what our gift giving philosophy is and why?
Absolutely. So for me, a gift should be given for the gift's sake. Nothing more, nothing less. A gift that has, ulterior motives or comes with strings attached, for example, that is not a purpose to give a gift. And I'll give an example of this. Just today, actually, this must be serendipitous. I received an email from a cold email in my inbox that said, "Hey, Gaby, I've got a gift card to Patagonia or LL Bean waiting with your name on it if you will take a 15-minute call with me and discuss XYZ." And while that seems attractive, right? I mean, LL Bean and Patagonia, those are great companies, great brands, and certainly we could put a gift card to use. It just felt disingenuous. It felt like, well, in order for me to get this gift, I've got to take a call with you. What if I don't want to take a call? What if what you're selling me or what you're asking from me has nothing to do with what I need right now? Then is it really a gift? And so I think our philosophy really is a gift should be given because you want to give it, because you enjoy gift giving, because you enjoy, most importantly, building relationships. Gifts are tokens of appreciation. Gifts are tokens of, of admiration and respect. And so if you're giving a gift with a string attached to it, then do you really respect and admire and appreciate that person? Are you really looking to build a relationship, or are you looking for a transaction? So to me and to us here at Proofpoint, and hopefully to everyone that has ever received a gift from us, that you truly feel that you're getting this gift because we respect, admire, and appreciate you, and that because we are investing in this relationship. Those are really the only things that matter to me and to us when we give a gift. And I would say also, sorry to interrupt you, Mike, those are the things that matter to me when I'm receiving a gift as well. If I'm the recipient of a gift, I want to feel that I'm getting it because the other person on the other end appreciates me and respects me and is investing in this relationship. So gift giving and gift receiving for me have the same philosophy.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up this example. I don't want to take us too far off track, but I think I actually got a very similar one. I think a lot of people do. It was someone offered to plant a tree via some other organization in exchange for a meeting. But it's the same. I think there's a couple of core concepts, which maybe is a good transition to some of them. Is number one is research, right? So deciding what kind of gift to give. Like, I know you don't really buy from either Patagonia or LLB, and those things mean nothing to you. Right? We're married. I know that. But somebody can do some very basic research on your Instagram profile and see that's not you. So that not the right type of gift even to give, even if this was the right thing. The other part, I think, is, we're going to talk about where gifts can play. I think there is maybe an opportunity for some of kind of what these people are trying to do, but it's got to be done in a much different way. The approach needs to be all about transparency and integrity and really understanding like the value of time.
Yeah. So
it's one thing if somebody approaches you and says, hey, again, the relevance, right? So maybe it's someone says, hey, I know you're a big fan of Evereve, right? So for anybody that's going to prospect Gaby, Evereve's the way to get to her.
Yes. Evereve or
Evereve gift cards all around.
Kristen Scott Jewelry, I'm good with that too.
There you go. There's a couple of potentials there for people. But if they go, hey, I've got a, $200 or $100 Evereve gift card for you. I know your time is valuable. So I'd love to talk to you about, XYZ. Here's what the conversation is going to be about.
Right.
Here's how long it's going to take. I'm going to, and in return for your time, I'd love to give you something.
Bingo.
I don't know what the percentage of response is, but I bet you it's going to be significantly higher than either of the outreaches that we got. Number one, I don't know about yours. Mine didn't even say what the heck it was. They barely even mentioned the company name. Like, I don't know what you do.
Exactly.
I don't know if I need you. I don't care about the gift.
That is exactly correct. This person was very vague. Like, hey, I've got a Patagonia gift card. Can I get 10 minutes of your time? It's like, well, what are you selling? How do you know that I need this, first of all, right? And to your earlier point, 100%, Mike, do your research on the individual. You are 100% right. If they had a $200 gift card to Evereve, you betcha I'd take that call, even if I didn't need it, or even if I didn't want their service. That's a whole other
set of problems, though, right? Like, what type of activity are you incentivizing? But we're not going to talk about that today.
Exactly. And that's a really good point, because what I was going to dovetail and say is that it is so much better to give a gift after the fact, right? Instead of dangling a carrot and saying, well, hey, would you take this call with me if I give you this thing? Again, you're incentivizing the wrong behavior, because then the person's really only going to take that call or make that action because there's a reward on the other end. And is that a valuable use of your time or their time? And is the information that you're going to glean from that call or survey or whatever, is that really accurate, right? Am I only taking this gift because I like it or because I want it or because you're dangling this carrot? Or better yet, build a relationship with me, get to know me, do your research. I'm a very public person, and you can go to LinkedIn. You can even, like you said, Mike, Instagram. I have an Instagram account. I don't post on it for work-related stuff, but if they were to do their homework on me, or YouTube is even a better place because I have a lot of videos that talk about who I am and what I do. Build that relationship. Show me that you've done your homework on me. Even if you're dangling the carrot, then I will have known that you're genuine in building a relationship. If you're dangling a carrot without any context and something that's not maybe as motivating or valuable to me, then it's really a wasted opportunity. It's a wasted gift. And again, it's the wrong incentive. It's the wrong way to use gifting, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, for sure, if somebody really wanted to, it wouldn't take more than 5 to 15 minutes of research to figure out what kind of gift might have an impact on you. One thing I'll throw out there is, again, in a more, say, sales type of environment, right? I think gifting can play, but I think you have to be really, really super extra. I don't know how many other superlatives I can add to it, but like extra strategic, right? So, for example, we haven't done this, but it's on the list at some point, right? Let's assume you have a course, or you have some sort of value add resource or something like that, right? A course is the example I'll use. You can do your research and find people who have the problem that your course helps solve, or people who've talked about it or mentioned it or whatever, like again, if it's on LinkedIn, things like that. You can then reach out and say, hey, I saw you were talking about XYZ. Thought I'd offer you whatever, a discounted or free access to my course. That's it. There's no other ask there. And then from there, you can take the conversation further, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that's kind of taking us maybe a little bit outside of what we're going to talk about, but I think it's important to call out.
I think that gets into value and utility and what the value is to the person that's receiving the gift. And I know that was one of the topics we wanted to cover, which is, what types of gifts, where and how and to whom, and how to choose the right gifts. But I think really you're talking about value. If you are a course creator or you have a course, but it's not your main gig, right? Your main thing. It's just, I hate to use the term, but maybe like a lead generation tool or just a tool for you to showcase what you're all about. And it's a low lift for you to send somebody a free demo of that course or what have you. That's a great way to build relationships because you're not expecting anything in return. You're giving them something that is of value to them, and it just continues to endear you to that person. I agree that is a good strategy. Let's talk a little bit about, I know, Mike, you wanted to talk a little bit about the relationship velocity framework and how gifting fits into that. Tell us, what are your thoughts there?
Sorry, I'm like trying to see. This never works for me. Every time, like the LinkedIn Live thing freezes on me. So I have no idea how many people we actually have in here. If you are there live, pop a message in the chat so we know you're there. And one other thing I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the comments in real time. Am I supposed to be doing something, Mike? I'm not sure.
No, I don't know. It never. Every single time that I've ran these things, comments never come through in real time. Like it's showing up as frozen on my end. I don't even know where we're at here. Anyway, if you're in here, pop a comment. Hopefully we'll see it. I'm also going to share a link if anybody wants to join us live and ask a question. Maybe I'll do that later. I'll do that later.
Let's do that. Let's do that later, Mike. I think we're spending too much time chit-chatting about the live. Let's talk about what we want to talk about here.
So yeah, you mentioned our framework. I think that really where that plays in is like, I think people might kind of question, well, where does gifting have an impact? Where can it have an impact? I mean, there's maybe some obvious things, like you send gifts to our clients. That's great. But I think there is a framework. I'm going to share my screen here with a couple of things. Pop this in the slideshow. There we go. It's coming. Very slowly.
As we're waiting for this thing to pull up, I will just say to anyone that's attending, if you have questions, pop them in the chat. And then Joseph, if you're listening, or Kristen, if you're listening, DM us in Slack, because Mike and I are not able to see the comments in real time on LinkedIn. So we want to make sure we get to everyone's comments. We want to make sure we're doing that. Or Joseph, if there's something that we're not doing right, Slack DM us while we're going, so we make sure that we're getting everyone here. All right, Mike, what are we looking at? This is the relationship journey in B2B. This is our relationship velocity framework. I know you've mentioned it quite a few times. Let's set the stage for our listeners today. Tell us what this is all about and why does it matter?
So again, and I don't want to derail the conversation, talk about the framework and turn this into like a pitch or anything. Most people that follow us probably have seen this because I posted about it quite a bit on LinkedIn. So the main things to note here are, at each stage of the journey, what we look at are 5 main kind of psychological micro decisions that happen. So if you think about your personal relationships, that's the easiest analogy to put it in, right? But the point is, at each stage, there's going to be excitement. So you need to do something to get the person excited. There's inevitably going to be some sort of skepticism internally. There's going to be some sort of questioning. Most likely, although not always, the goal is to get past that skepticism and skip the questioning, etc. So, and I don't want to belabor that point. Where I believe gifting plays, it for sure plays in the excitement side of things. And depending on what the gift is, it could play in the getting past skepticism. So let me give you an example. In terms of excitement, right? Let's assume you already have a client that you're working with, or a customer you're working with. Sending them a random gift that they didn't expect, that's very personalized for their birthday, or maybe it's for the anniversary of your working relationship, or a million other things which we'll talk about. That gets them excited. It's an exciting thing. Now, is that going to be the thing that solidifies your relationship? No, of course not. At the end of the day, results are what are important and things like that, right? But if everything else is going well, it's just that kind of extra icing on the cake, if you will, that surprise and delight, et cetera, that can get them excited and, again, potentially turn them into an advocate or turn them into a loyal customer, et cetera. And the big asterisk there, can play, I think, into with this internal skepticism side of things, maybe even under questioning. And I'll use the exact example that we just talked about, which is the course. Let's just say, if you've done the deep research on your customers, which everybody should be doing, if you've done that deep research and you understand what the skepticisms are and whose opinions matter when decisions are being made, so who's going to be referenced and asked when external questioning happens, then you might be able to create, again, a course, let's just say, that answers some of these skepticisms, like whatever. It could be as basic as whatever. I'm going to use this framework as an example. Let's say we're pitching this to somebody, and inevitably someone's going, well, that's great. It sounds interesting. Does it work? Right? So there's a couple of things you can do there. From a gifting perspective, maybe there is a course, and it's sort of a self-serve thing, like, hey, take this course to, I'm making this up, we don't do this right now, but to get certified in the execution of this, or to maybe take you through the first the first stage or something like that, right? Like in terms of you can show yourself that this thing works, right? And that could be a course that gets gifted to maybe some internal influencers or things like that. Right? So as an example, it can play there. I would say that's limited. For the most part, I would say gifting plays in this kind of excitement decision point.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Mike. And you know, with the framework that framework, I think again, gifting also really solidifies and helps you push your intended audience closer to that loyalty phase. One thing that I wanted to share, and you know, we've talked about this a number of times, is that gifting can also be a good indicator of the strength of your relationship. And while I don't have specifics or hard data to prove this, I can say anecdotally what we've noticed is the following. When we have sent gifts to either existing clients or prospective clients, it's a really good indicator, their response is a really good indicator to the strength of the relationship. So if we get a really positive response, like, oh my God, thank you, I got this, I loved it, appreciate it, you guys nailed it on the head. And this is, you know, in this case, I'm talking about a very targeted gift, something that was really customized for this person. If we receive that kind of feedback, or they go even one step further and they might take a photo and share it on LinkedIn, or take a photo and send it to us via email and say, oh my God, thank you so much. To me and to us, we have seen that is a very strong indicator that the relationship is healthy, that the person on the other end appreciates, respects, and reciprocates those same exact feelings. The inverse to that, and we have seen this, is that when we do send a highly personalized gift to a client and the response is lackluster or non-existent, that is a great indicator that perhaps something is up. Perhaps the relationship is not reciprocated. Perhaps they might be upset or disgruntled about something. They haven't shared that with you. Now you're sending what you believe to be is a very personalized gift to them because you have built this relationship. You know this person deeply. You know their likes, their passions, their hobbies, and you've customized something to them. And the gift is received but then not appreciated or not acknowledged. There's a couple of things that you need to think about. Number one, what's going on with the relationship? Are you blind by things? Has something happened that you're not aware of it? Or does this person or this group or company or team, what have you, are they not reciprocating the same feelings that you are putting into the relationship? There are of course other factors. I mean, the biggest one being that, well, we're all really busy people and we may just forget or not remember or simply haven't gotten to thanking that person or saying, you know, appreciating it. There's also the case, and this has happened to us once, that we send a gift that's highly personal and it was never received. It was lost somewhere in the mail. It happened to be a very expensive bottle of scotch. We knew that this person was a scotch drinker. We went for a very expensive bottle, and my guess is that the person that was delivering it, because this was a hand delivery kind of thing, or either gave it to the wrong person and that person just took it and didn't bother to give it to the right person, or it was left somewhere on the doorstep and somebody swiped it. We don't know. We never followed up, but we have a feeling that, you know, that gift was never delivered. So don't jump to, you know, I also want to say, don't jump to conclusions that, oh gosh, I'm sending a gift. I know I got this person beautifully hit on the nail, you know, nail on the head, and I didn't receive any kind of acknowledgement. Also, don't jump to conclusions, right? People could be busy. It may not have delivered. They may not have been home when it was delivered. So that goes back to what we said from the very beginning, which is the philosophy of a gift is given for the gift's sake, not for anything else. If you get a thank you, if you get a LinkedIn post, if you get a handwritten note, that is just that is the icing on the cake. That is the cherry on the icing on the cake. The idea is you're showing your commitment to the partner. You're showing, you know, your investment in the relationship. But as I said, it is a good indicator, one of many factors that could be an indicator to the strength and the health of the relationship.
Yeah, a couple of things maybe to circle back to more tactically. As you mentioned, don't necessarily freak out if you don't hear from somebody right away. And the other thing I'll say is, I would usually give it like a week or so from the date where you believe it should have been received. And if you don't hear back, I think it's totally fine to reach out and say, hey, just out of curiosity, sent you something. I just want to make sure you got it. Because, things get lost, etc. And oftentimes what happens is you'll get one response, oh my God, yes, I got it. I've just been so busy. Thank you so much. It's been great. It was really thoughtful, whatever. Or you might just get a basic thank you. Or you might get, I didn't receive anything. When did you send it? And then, whatever. So it's, if nothing else, it opens up that extra level of conversation too, and allows you to, again, build that relationship further.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it's all about. And there's one other thing I was going to bring up, and now I forgot what it was. So we'll just keep moving.
Well, let's get into a little bit more tactics here, Mike. Let's talk about the types of gifts and the who and the what, right? So the who in our book is pretty simple, and I will share kind of the who that receives gifts from us at Proofpoint. So it's without a doubt our employees, and we can talk a little bit about what that looks like on the employee side. Clients, obviously, that's another no-brainer. But we also will typically send gifts, and again, it depends on timing, and the strategy here is very important, to prospects, to people that are very deep within our pipeline, deep within our prospecting funnel. Sometimes it's not uncommon for us to send a little token of appreciation, and we'll share some. I have some really good examples here at my desk that I can share. And then also one other area that is probably not done and maybe even not even thought about is candidates, your candidate pipeline. Now, I'm not saying that you have to give a gift to every single person that applies to a job for your company. However, if you have a candidate that has gone through, several rounds of interviews or has gone through your candidate, funnel, and they're getting to very late stages in the game, either final round or that stage where you might be giving an offer, and for whatever reason, either they selectively say, hey, you know what, I got another offer, or I'm not going to take this offer, or you in turn say, we really enjoyed meeting you, you were awesome, but we've decided to move forward with a different candidate. We have started this year actually giving a token of appreciation to those candidates specifically. The lift is small. It's some $15, $20 gift card to either Starbucks or Amazon. I think we kind of landed on
Yeah, we've been doing $25 Amazon gift cards.
$25 Amazon. Okay, thank you for clarifying. $25 Amazon gift cards. I mean, it's a small thing. What is $25 to your business, right? And for us, I will admit very openly, very publicly, we have a next to zero budget for HR and recruiting. Not zero totally, but it's very small. Our budget for hiring and recruiting is very limited. And we're actually building our pipeline, organically through demand gen and content and other areas. But a $25 gift card to the 1 to 2 candidates that apply for our roles and get really down deep into our funnel, into our candidate funnel, it's a small lift for us, but it creates a huge impact, I think, for the individual, because we're valuing their time, we're acknowledging their expertise, and we're also acknowledging the fact that they've dedicated time to us, to interview with us, to meet with our team, to talk about Proofpoint, to learn about us. So I think that's another really easy, really low lift thing that if you're in people ops and if you're recruiting, even if you're in marketing and you're listening today, but you work hand in hand with your counterpart in HR, tell them this. Bring it to the table because it will make a difference. The people that have received gift cards for us, we can see them engaging, connecting with us online. And what I've also noticed is that when we do have a job that's open, that either fits them, they come back into our pipeline, or they share the job with somebody else. If it's not one that's, for them specifically, they might pass that along. So now we built loyalty with somebody who was really interested and really committed to wanting to be part of the Proofpoint team. We for whatever reason, it didn't work out, but now we have a loyal supporter and a loyal follower and friend. And to me, that's a very easy lift, low cost, high impact. And then lastly, sorry, Mike, I know you want to get in here. Lastly, the last sort of group whom we gift to is our network, through giveaways, through strategic gifting and giveaways online. And for those that are listening and hopefully stay on through the end, we have a couple of giveaways to give. So just to recap, it's clients, it's employees, it's prospective clients, it's candidates, and it is your network at large. And when I say network at large, I want to clarify and also say that can include partners, vendors, service providers, people that are tangentially related to your business or service your business. Those are also really great people to have on your gifting list. And again, the level of gifting, the frequency, and the value is going to change based on the proximity and the importance that these people have to you in your business.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to clarify for people, the gifting to candidates. So the way our process works is we do an initial interview, then we do a self-directed assessment, and it's for the people who get through that self-directed assessment that either decide not to continue or that we decide not to continue with. That's who gets some of the gift cards, right? So we're not just sending it to everybody, because even with a company our size, certain jobs we have, 50 candidates apply or more, and that would be, for us at least, a really good chunk of budget that we would have to spend. Gaby, what you were talking about in terms of kind of broadening the scope, if you will, of who gifting can be used for. I'm going to share one more slide here that I think can help people visualize this. So when we talk in our framework, we talk about the relationship pyramid. And, everybody generally wants to focus here on the decision maker, right? And that's when you think about gifting, like, oh, well, let me send the CEO a nice bottle of scotch, or, that kind of thing. Which I'm not saying don't do that. There's value to doing things like that. And you can and should potentially focus on the decision maker. But an interesting one that Gaby mentioned really is here, these external influencers, right? Because if that external, because think about it this way, now again, you shouldn't do it. This is where the purpose of gifting is for gifting's sake. We got to remember that. But there are a lot of these intangibles that can happen if you do this, right? If you have that mindset. Because if you have that mindset, the gift doesn't feel dirty, for lack of a better word, to that person, as we talked about. And they're much more likely to actually talk about it, share it, etc., right? So that kind of cherry on the frosting on top, I forget exactly what you call it, Gaby.
The cherry on the frosting on the cake.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So that cherry, let's assume somebody that's an influencer goes and shares that, I got this gift from so-and-so. Now that's free PR, if you will, right? People will inevitably, at least some portion of people will go, who is this brand, whatever. Like, let's assume we do some of our giveaways. We've had people share. And I know for a fact that some people will go and check out our profiles, individuals, and our company profiles, and some will follow, right? So there are these intangibles of doing gifting. And this maybe is a decent transition to, okay, should we measure, and if so, how?
Oh, we're going right there. I think we skipped a few things. Okay, but yeah.
I mean, we can talk about whatever. But
Yeah. It's a good question. I know measurement is always going to be on people's minds, especially us marketers. We're always concerned about, do we have to measure this? So I know, Mike, you have a point of view and
actually,
a philosophy.
sorry, I'm going to interrupt. I take that back. Why don't we save measurement for a minute? I think what we should do is talk about some more specifics in terms of deciding how and what to gift, and then maybe show some examples.
Okay.
I think let's go.
We're
there
husband
first.
and wife here, but still we can't read each other's minds. We're business partners, husband and wife. We've been doing this for years, and we still can't read each other's mind. Okay. And we did have an outline here. Mike, you were going off script. Now you want to go back on script. Okay, that's fine. I'll roll with it.
I always go off script.
You always go off script. That is true. All right. So we talked about the who. You know, who are the types of people that should be part of your consideration when gifting. There were the five groups. Just to reiterate here for people that might be jumping in or jumping out, we've got clients, prospects, employees, candidates, and then your network, or what I like to call the network is people in your orbit. And again, that includes your, could be your LinkedIn network. It could be partners, vendors, service providers, past clients, even past employees, alumni, as we call them at Proofpoint. Your network is a much larger group. And again, to reiterate the point that we said earlier, the frequency and the value of the gift is going to differ based on the proximity and the importance of each of these stakeholder groups. So let's talk a little bit about what types of gifts. That is really a question that a lot of people have. I was actually just on, funny enough, this is like very serendipitous because I got that email earlier today about, would you take my call with my gift card? And then I happened to be scheduled for a meeting today with clients about gifting. So today is like a very gifting heavy day. I wonder if that means, Mike, that you're going to give me a gift today. Maybe. I don't know.
Put me on the spot.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Anyway,
Every gift card.
What types of gifts should you give? It all depends. The answer to that question is it depends. It depends on, again, who, the audience. So narrowing down your audience is important. It also depends on the occasion or the experience that you want to cultivate. So a couple of occasions that we celebrate here at Proofpoint that are, common enough that you could also adopt this as well is client birthdays, major client milestones, like for example, a promotion, or if we've had a few clients of ours go public. So we try to send a gift to the highest decision maker. Usually that's the CEO. That's where we sent that bottle of scotch that never got delivered, unfortunately. But major client milestones, and then personal milestones if someone's getting married or having a baby. And then obviously there's the other side of gifting, which is sadder to talk about, and that's bereavement. If a client of ours experiences a bereavement, we want to do something meaningful to them. And different cultures have different protocols for that. So those are the major, client gifting. And then there's surprise and delight. Surprise and delight is getting something randomly that you weren't expecting, but that just makes your day or just makes your week. And we try to scatter a few little moments of surprise and delight throughout the year for our clients. And that could be things like Halloween. One year we gave everybody a virtual, we gave them something called a candy wish or sugar wish. And they can go online and choose their own candies, and then it gets shipped to them. We've done a Valentine's thing where we sent like cute little Valentine's packages, red and pink. And so surprise and delight are those random times of the years that you just want to take a moment and say, hey, I appreciate you. Thanks. And here's something to brighten up your day. With regards to the bigger occasions, the bigger gifting when it comes to clients, the most important thing that you can do and this is a lesson that we learned kind of the hard way, is personalize it as much as you can. So if it's a client's birthday, do your homework. Build your relationship with this client. Know what they like. Know what sports teams they like. Know what drink, are they a coffee drinker? Are they a tea drinker? Do they don't drink coffee at all? We build in processes throughout the relationships of our clients to get at that information, especially during onboarding. We have a process that allows the client and the account team to really start to build those relationships and learn about people. The other thing that's really important to do is, look, we're on a video call right now. Notice the surroundings of your client. Now, unfortunately, like me and Mike,
mine's not very good.
We have nothing on our walls because we just moved, and so we're a bad example. But if you notice a picture or something hanging on the wall or something on their desk, a little trinket, a little token, those are things that you can start to ask questions on and build relationships, and then write those down. We have what's called a client background deck, and it is just a very simple, PowerPoint deck. It's a Google Doc deck, whatever. It's Google Deck.
Google Slides.
Google Slides, thank you. And anytime that we have an interaction with a client that we're able to ascertain valuable information about them, their likes, their dislikes, their goals, their passions, information about their family, information about, forward thinking, we make a note, we make a habit, the account team at Proofpoint makes a habit to write those things down. Not that we're trying to be creepy or, build an intelligence file on our clients. Really, it's an opportunity for us to learn about our clients deeply, and most importantly, to pass that information along to new incoming Proofpointers that might be joining that account, so that there's a seamless interaction between new team members or exiting and entering team members.
You can track that info in the CRM too, if that's.
You can track that in the CRM. That is true. That is true. So know your clients. Know what they like. We have a client. I'll give an example here. We have a client that's based in the Twin Cities, and they are a die-hard Vikings fan. We just had a dinner with them, a lunch, not too long ago, last time we were in the Twin Cities. And they told us that if their current business doesn't pan out, and they said this in jest, but there's always an element to truth in every joke. They said that if their current business doesn't pan out, they're going to beg, kick, scream, do whatever they can to join the Vikings organization. Not necessarily as a player, but in the coaching staff or whatever. I mean, I think they even said that they would be happy sweeping up the stadium if need be, just to be part of the Vikings nation. So that was a tremendous piece of information that we gathered from our lunch with this client, and you better believe that the next time we're ready to celebrate a birthday or to celebrate a milestone for this client, we're going to try to do something that is Vikings related. So build your intelligence on your clients. Know what they like. You do this in several ways. Like I said, in your day-to-day, weekly or monthly touch bases, in your QBRs, when you're meeting with clients face-to-face in person. Hopefully you're doing that at least once or twice a year. And then when you have those opportunities to be in person with your clients, you're taking the time to do something that's not work-related, that's fun, that's a out of the office experience, because that's when you really start to learn about them and get deeper in terms of who they are outside of their work role. We also talked about noticing your surroundings, things on the walls, things on the desk. Maybe it's the clothes that they're wearing. Maybe it's jewelry. Maybe it's glasses, for example, or hats, Pay attention to those things, because those are really strong indicators of the types of things that may resonate really well with a client. Another example, and then we can move on to another segment here, is we have a client, a dear client of ours, who loves jewelry. And I love jewelry. If you know me, you know I love jewelry. I'm always wearing something fun in our calls and in team meetings and in person. And I know this client and I were chatting about this really, really awesome jewelry store in Chicago. They're based in Chicago. And the last time we were in Chicago, it wasn't even anywhere near her birthday, but I made a point to go to the store, mostly because I wanted to buy stuff for me, but also because I knew that our client really loves that brand. And I picked up a few things for her. And when it was time for her birthday, which was a few months after we had met for our meeting, I sent her this gift. And boy, did it land. I mean, she was thrilled. She was so overwhelmed and thankful and appreciative that we got something that was really like an embodiment of her style and her likes, and from the store that she adores and that she frequents. And so those are really important ways that you can learn about your clients and really personalize the gift to them. So Mike, you've been very quiet. I know you probably want to get in here. What am I missing, or where do you want to take the conversation?
I want to talk about maybe if you can talk about some examples, more specific. I think the one thing that I think works really well is making it something that, again, they'll remember it and then they will use, or that they will display.
Yeah.
Because then it's always a reminder about your relationship, right? Again, It doesn't mean it has to be like, don't do the branded coffee mug thing, right? People have one too many mugs, probably many too many mugs, realistically. Or, I think that's the problem with a lot of the more traditional, like, swag gifting things is you're just giving them something that's not unique. Sure, it's got your logo on it or whatever.
Right.
But it's not really a representation of anything.
Right.
Versus, I think maybe we can talk about some of the, like, holiday gifts that we've done. And maybe this is also where we do some of our giveaways too, because that's...
Yeah. I hear what you're throwing down, Mike. Let me jump in here. So what you're talking about...
What you're saying is stop talking. I got it. All right.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. What you're talking about, or at least what I think that you're trying to get me to talk about here, is the idea between swag, like cheap swag, or versus a more higher touch, higher value brand expression. And those are two very different things. I mean, and those are for two very different audiences. So swag, and what I would consider swag would be hats, t-shirts, I don't have one here, but a water bottle, a mug. Now, I will put mug in a slightly different category because there's something cool coming down the pike with Proofpoint and mugs. So I kind of hate that you are putting mugs in a bad light, because we have some cool mugs.
Well, I'm just thinking of, like, the basic mug that's like the same exact one that everyone's got. It just has your logo on it. Right.
Exactly. So, swag is one thing, and there's a very specific time and place and audience for swag. And I will say this as a blanket statement, and, come at me if you will. If you're going to invest in swag, any kind of swag, you better damn well make sure that it is the highest quality that you can budget for, and that is that I'll leave it at that. The highest quality swag that you can budget for. And I will say that if you can't really afford high quality swag, you may want to rethink your strategy there. You may not want to invest in a hat or a t-shirt or a mug or a water bottle, because
landfills are filled with crappy swag.
What is going to happen is your cheap swag is going to end up either at the Goodwill or at the bottom of the trash pile, at your city dump. And, I am, just as who I am naturally as a consumer, I try to be very eco-conscious and make earth-friendly decisions. And as a business owner, I'm also extending that philosophy. We want to make earth-friendly, valuable decisions that impact, that have an impact to our audiences, but that also have a low impact to our community at large. So that is, to me, the difference between swag and what I'm calling a high value, high touch expression of your brand. So what is a good example of a high touch expression of your brand? Well, let me show you here because I've got some great examples. Now, Mike is wearing one of our Proofpoint hats. It is a very high quality hat. The patch is genuine leather. The hat is really well made. I mean, this brand of hat, this style of hat is what you might find at a store, at a gift store or at, maybe not at Target per se, but because they have different quality levels, but this is a very expensive and high value hat. And when we've given this hat as a gift or to our employees, we get a lot of positive feedback. The best feedback that I can get from somebody is when they use the things that we give them. So here's a great example.
We also use this exact same, like when, if we launch a podcast for clients, we've printed, hats with the podcast logo on them as an example. And this is sort of an example of making something relevant and all that kind of stuff.
Great call out, Michael. Let me touch on that quickly on the hats. So one of the things that we learned, and I think it's universal. This is not like, oh my God, wow, groundbreaking. The truth is that people want to wear the things that matter to them, their brand, their company, their logos. So what we've done, and this is a great example, is we just recently launched a podcast for a company, a client of ours. And shortly after, we had an opportunity to meet them in person. They are based on the East Coast. And as a token of our appreciation for the work that we did with them, we had custom hats made similar to the ones that you're wearing today, Mike, with their podcast logo. And it was a really high impact gift for them because, sure, do I have Proofpoint hats lying around? Yep, right behind me in this closet, I've got a ton of them. I could have easily given them a Proofpoint hat, and I think they would have appreciated it. But the fact that they received a hat of their brand, of their podcast, with their colors, was to me was way better received and just appreciated so much more. So really good call out there, Mike. Let me show a couple of examples that we've done that are high value, high touch expressions of our brand. So number one, chocolates. If you have been lucky enough to receive a chocolate from Proofpoint, you know that these are really yummy. They are dark chocolate, sea salt caramel, gourmet chocolates. But what's really fun and interesting about this expression is the fact that it's fully branded, fully customized to Proofpoint. This is an example that we send to anyone that joins us on our podcast. It's branded with our podcast logo and look and feel. And inside we have this blank panel that we write a handwritten note to our guest. And then inside here, they are opening up and getting that really yummy chocolate. So I think now's a good time for us to do a little bit of a giveaway. In the comments, if you are listening, let's see. Tell us your favorite chocolate, and we will pick someone random to receive one of our Proofpoint chocolates. So the reason, again, getting back to what we were saying about the high touch experience, this is a fully branded experience. The chocolate is delicious and yummy and can be used. This is what I love about creating high touch experiences. It is an experience. It is something that they can use. I have had people take photos of this and post it on LinkedIn or tell me, oh my God, I got your chocolate. My wife ate it because she loves dark chocolate, or my kids grabbed it and snatched it from my hand and they loved it. We have had people that have eaten the chocolate, they open it here, they take the chocolate, but they save the packaging. We've been on calls with people that have been on our podcast or clients or prospects that have saved the packaging. And this is a really nice, it's really nice paper. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. So this is a high touch, high value expression of the brand, but it's also really useful and valuable to the person on the other end because it's an experience that they can consume. In this case, chocolate. Well, let's see. Do we get any people to respond to our giveaway here for a chocolate?
The live chat thing is like 10 minutes behind, so I have no idea.
Okay.
We'll have to follow up on that later.
We'll have to follow up on that later. Okay. So another really high value expression of our brand, and I know, Mike, this is the one that you really want to talk about, is our custom set of marketing persona playing cards. We have an orange deck and a blue deck. This represents the Proofpoint brand. The colors, the iconography, the font, all of that is an expression of Proofpoint and the Proofpoint brand. If you can see really up close, I know that it's going to be hard to see, but inside this little emblem here, there's a little pudding cup and it says the proof is in the pudding. And
it's going to be hard to see on camera. The main thing people should know is we spent a lot of time and a decent amount of money having a really high class illustrator custom design these things.
Yes, I was just going to show. I didn't open this deck, but this is an example of one of the cards. I'll open the deck really quickly. Every single element of these decks have been custom made. The box, all corners of the box, the deck itself, the back of the deck, and then let me try to open this up here. Should have.
Well, we sent these. The main thing is we sent these as last year's holiday gift, and
Correct.
the cool thing was we had a bunch of people literally sending us photos of them sitting on the floor or at the table with kids and family playing cards.
Right.
Which is exactly what we wanted them to do.
Each of the suite, so Jack, King, Queen, and the Ace, each of these are custom illustrations of different marketing archetypes, different marketing personas. So this was a labor of love. The artist on this was Scott Sugiuchi. He's a really awesome partner of Proofpoint's. He's done a lot of creative work for us at Proofpoint. And the creative brief was to create a fully custom set of cards that speak to our audience of marketing leaders, marketing people. And so this is just a brilliant example. I love this initiative.
Are we giving some of these away?
We are going to give this away too.
Right.
So the other
in the comment,
giveaway,
post your favorite card game.
post your favorite card game. Exactly. So giveaway number 1 is favorite chocolate. Giveaway number 2 is favorite card game. We will pick people at random and you'll receive a pair of cards here. The reason this works, again, is yes, it's branded. Yes, it's blue and orange. But it really relates to our audience. Our audience, the people whom we serve, are marketers. So as they're utilizing these decks, they might see themselves represented in one of the archetypes. And each suite of, you've got hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades. Each suit is represents a different marketing team. And each Jack, King, Queen, Ace is a different marketing persona, a leader, SME, etc.
The great thing, we're running up at our time here, so we're going to be wrapping up pretty quick. I think the one thing I want to mention is there have been a number of conversations that we've had recently with people who have received these either as a holiday gift or as a giveaway or something like that. And multiple times, we'd literally be on camera. They go, "Oh, by the way, I still have your cards here." And they're literally sitting on their desk, right? Either some of them have been unopened and some of them have been opened and they're pulling them out and, fanning them out and stuff. So it's, again, kind of going back to that, it's something they can consistently use.
Exactly.
Gaby, is there anything else you want to throw out there? And then I think what I'd like to do, I know we have a couple people live here, I think, is open up for questions.
Yeah. Well, and I know we're running a little bit beyond time, but I think we could probably spend maybe another 10, 15 minutes, Mike, if you're open to it. Definitely let's bring on some guests if anyone wants to join us. And then I know you wanted to talk about measurement, Mike. So maybe as we're waiting for guests to join us, you can talk a little bit about the measurement side of things. All right,
so I've shared this link a couple of times in the chat, and hopefully people are seeing it. I'm going to share it one more time. If you want to come on live, you can do that. So click that link. there'll be a live call-in button. Click that and we can bring you on and you can ask a question. We can chat. If you want to just pop a question into chat, I believe we've got people watching the chat that are seeing it live, unlike we are not. We are literally 15 minutes behind in this. I don't know how to get it for me to see it live. So if you got a question, pop it in here. If you have a specific gifting question, anything around gifting, throw it out there. In the meantime, let me riff a little bit on measurement. I think question number one is, should you measure? And this one's an interesting one because, the whole concept of what gets measured gets managed, etc. But also, I would say what you measure creates incentives as well. So, Gaby in the very beginning mentioned, gifting should be done for gifting's sake. At least that's our ethos at Proofpoint. Not saying everybody should adopt that, but for us, for that reason, we actually don't measure it, not formally. I would say qualitatively, we look at it and see, did it land or did it not? Did it get consumed, right? Or did people like it? Those are things that we measure. We're not really measuring any sort of, and we're not trying to measure any sort of like direct ROI or anything like that. Again, Gaby mentioned a couple of times, we have found that clients where the gifts land well, as long as everything else is in place in terms of results and the relationship and things like that, they're generally long-term clients and they stick around for a long time. And we've seen that. Now, could that just be a small sample size correlation? Of course. So we don't really measure. However, there is this, ABM play you could run, if you will, more from a sales perspective. And that's where some level of measurement, I think, is warranted. You just have to be careful about, like I mentioned, what types of incentives your measurement is creating. Right? So let's assume you do you see a lot of this, like, hey, here's $100 to set a meeting. I think it can work, but you have to be careful about what incentives that creates, both for, say, the salesperson that's got I don't know how much of a budget they might be given on a quarterly basis or something to do this, and what incentive it creates for the person receiving and accepting that gift potentially. So you'd want to look at, okay, if we're doing this, what percentage of these meetings get set? What percentage of them are kept? What percentage of these meetings then turn to customers, right? And then you can very easily look at an ROI. Again, where it gets interesting is if you don't do just the basic gift card thing, because a gift card's fairly impersonal. Let's be honest. But maybe you do, again, something more along the lines of a course, or whether it's your course or maybe it's somebody else's. Like maybe you buy a course as a gift for somebody that you heard talking or saw mentioning something about a challenge they're having, right? Then that's a slightly different story, and you can be measuring, okay, did they, like if it's your course specifically, you can see completion rates and stuff like that. If it's somebody else's, that one's a little bit harder. But I think, again, measuring, is it getting them like that excitement step that we talked about? Is it getting them to the next stage, right? Or is it driving a follow-up conversation? Whether that be the actual meeting or just a chat back and forth or whatever, things like that. So like from a measurement perspective, I think you'd still want to keep it, in my opinion, at least fairly loose.
Yeah. And
then look at, all right, I'm spending X number of dollars. How many conversations am I having? How many of these conversations are turning into customers? Yeah. Depending on the volume of business that you do, it might take you a really long time to actually get a good idea of what conversion rates look like and what the ROI actually looks like on something like this.
Yeah.
So if you're in a high volume space like in SaaS or something where you're having hundreds of meetings a day across your sales team, that's a different story.
I think those are good points, Mike. And I think, again, going back to what we said earlier is do you have a relationship mindset? Are you looking to build long-term relationships? If so, then maybe measuring every single gift is not going to be the way for you to go. Rather, you build that mindset that this is part of what I am doing to build a relationship with somebody. And again, we talked pretty extensively about those five personas that you could gift to, and that the value and the frequency depend on the proximity and the importance to your organization. Another thing that we talked about is, swag versus a high value expression of your brand. Those are two very different things. We talked about how to build a gifting profile on each of those audiences. And again, where you want to spend the most amount of time is clients and employees. If you know your clients and employees really, really well, then when you want to send them a personalized gift, whether it's for a birthday, a promotion, a holiday, a birth announcement, or a wedding announcement, or whatever that personal experience is, you are able to do that because you've built a really strong rapport and relationship, and you have intelligence on the things that are valuable to those two audiences, clients and employees. We talked also about this idea of a high touch, high value expression of your brand. Those things, the examples that we gave here are the branded Proofpoint chocolates, the branded deck of cards. Those are things that I think are really great to use, and we use them specifically for giveaways with that fifth audience, which is the people that are in our orbit, as well as prospects, and people that come onto our podcast, for example, employees, and then obviously anything that you give to the other audiences can also translate really well for your clients and your employees. So last year, our end of year holiday gift was the deck of cards, along with a personalized note, some sweets and candies and chocolates, and then some stickers that were representative of the deck. The other thing that we really didn't touch on, and I'll touch on it briefly, and maybe if this is a topic that people really enjoy, we can sort of have a part 2, and that is how to manage your gifting initiative and what budget should you be allocating, what kind of budget should you be allocating? Those are really big questions. We're probably not going to dive too deep into them, but at a high level, a couple of things to consider if you want to adopt gifting as part of your relationship building mindset. Couple of things here. So number one, you really need to think about who's going to own the gifting initiative. It really should be one person or a very small committee that owns that. And I'll tell you why. Because if you have a lot of people gifting at the same time, it can get out of hand. And if you have a limited budget, you want to make sure that you know exactly who's giving what and when and what that budget is. So if you're new to gifting, if gifting is something that you want to start incorporating, think about it in terms of a very limited stakeholder group internally that owns that. And again, identify your core audiences. For us, we have 5 core audiences. For you, you might have others. So, think about who owns that relationship. If nobody in your organization can own the gifting experience, or you just don't have the resources or internally or the bandwidth to execute, this is where you need to ask yourself, okay, does it make sense to work with a gifting platform, or does it make sense to find a small gifting shop that can do this for me? So those are things to ask yourself as well. And then for budget, I think budget is very subjective. I don't think that there's a hard or fast rule on budget for gifting. I think it really depends on your objectives, the core audience whom you are gifting to, and also what you can comfortably gift. I think the rule of thumb that I try to employ is that a gift should be personalized, it should be relevant, it should be a high touch value expression of your brand if you want to create that sort of a touch point. And it should be the most, I shouldn't say the most expensive, but the most comfortable price point that you can give that is the expression of the person on the other end. So as a rule of thumb, we are probably looking at about 1% of our revenue for gifting at Proofpoint. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I was gonna say like to give people a reference point, we spend about 1% of our revenue on gifting and surprise and delight initiatives.
That's correct. That's correct. Now I have heard from others that they spend up to 10%. I think that is also really dependent on your industry. Are you working with, C-suite? Are you working with startup founders? Are you working with people in a very high-end industry? I think it all really depends on those factors, on, again, your 5 core audiences, what the purpose of your
the
gift
type of business
is.
you have too, I think matters. Like if
The
you're in
type
a
of
lower,
business.
like if you're in the coaching space, let's just say, then yeah, maybe it does make sense for you to spend 5% or something like that, because that's, especially if you can prove that it affects lifetime value of a customer,
Right.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think type of business is really important to consider.
Type
too.
of business, industry, your clientele, and again, the proximity and importance to whom you are gifting. On average, for client and employee birthdays, we're spending, I would say, close to 200, 250. Same thing with anniversary gifts, like the anniversary of a client or the anniversary of an employee. I would imagine that number continues to increase over the years as we grow and as we scale as a company. Right now, this is what we can comfortably afford within our operating and marketing, specifically our marketing budget, because that's where I'm pulling gifting from. It happens to live in marketing, though if you're paying attention from the beginning, gifting is not really, it can be a marketing and sales initiative. For us, it's more about that relationship mindset. It just happens for us to live in that line item. I know we went a little bit over time, and it seems like I'm getting the Oscars music to start wrapping up. So we are going to wrap up. Unless there are any specific questions, or if anyone would like to join us on the chat, we are always happy to talk to you directly. Otherwise, I'd also like to make it available to anyone that wants to talk privately. Send me a DM, shoot me an email. Gifting, while it's not a core service offering that we have at Proofpoint currently, it is really part of our ethos, part of our brand expression and experience, and part of that relationship mindset. I also happen to be the type of person that really loves gifting and enjoys surprising and delighting people. So it's something that I'm always happy to talk about. And I know Mike, maybe not as much. If you really want the down low on the gifting, come to me.
Gaby's the gifting queen.
I have been appointed the gifting queen. I will graciously and humbly accept that title.
I just approved the top line budget item.
Right. I want to thank everyone that joined us. If you participated in one of our 2 giveaways today, I will follow up and we will get you some yummy Proofpoint goodies. And are there any, Mike, did you notice any questions?
No, I didn't notice any questions. Again, I apologize if people asked and they're just not showing up for me yet. But I'm not seeing anything in Riverside either, so I think we can safely assume no questions at this point.
Okay.
As a wrap-up or summary, I think, at least in my view, pay attention to the relevance, pay attention to, I think, put a premium on creativity and the differentiation. And also think about timing. Like, is it the right time to give a gift? And based on the timing, which gift is relevant and is appropriate, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. If anyone's got questions, as Gaby mentioned, please reach out to her. She is the gifting queen and manages all of our gifting experiences here at Proofpoint. So with that, I will end the live and we'll talk to you all next week.
Thank you for joining us.